Picture the air entering your body. It flows through your nostrils, brushes against the walls of your lungs, and departs again in a rhythm so familiar you rarely notice it. This silent cycle repeats itself more than 23,000 times each day, a steady tide rising and falling in the background of your life. Yet almost none of these breaths arrive with awareness. They slip past like unnoticed seconds, mechanical, unexamined, automatic. But breath has never been only about survival. Breath is the first act that welcomed you into this world, the beginning gesture of consciousness anchoring itself in flesh. Long before you learned words, long before your mind was filled with commentary, you breathed. Your inaugural moment on earth was not a thought, not even a cry, but a breath, a gateway that opened the way from the invisible into the visible. The truth is that breath is not merely the maintenance of life. It is the key to becoming alive to your power as a creator of reality. Research from a HeartMath Institute reveals that each breathing pattern carries with a distinct electromagnetic signature. This field extends outward from your body nearly 8 feet in every direction. When your breathing is erratic, shallow, or infused with anxiety, the field surrounding you pulses with disorder, broadcasting turbulence into the environment. When your breathing becomes slow, coherent, and intentional, that same field organizes itself into harmony, transmitting calm to every person and every space you encounter. Whether you realize it or not, you are writing an energetic message into reality with every inhale and exhale. Science has begun to glimpse what ancient traditions knew intimately. Each cell in your body emits light, photons flickering invisibly, carrying information through your tissues. The German biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp discovered that this biophotonic emission shifts depending on your inner state. When harmony fills your system, the light is coherent, pulsing in rhythm. When chaos reigns, the light scatters into disarray. Your breath, as it guides a nervous system, directly influences this emission. Each inhale and exhale paints with light, weaving invisible strokes onto the canvas of your existence. The ancients called this practice breathing the light body into being. Egyptian initiates trained their disciples in sacred chambers to direct breath as a sculptor directs hands upon stone. Yogis across India refine pranayama, not merely to oxygenate lungs, but to mold consciousness itself. The Hebrews spoke of ruach, the breath of spirit animating matter. Across cultures and centuries, humanity has remembered and forgotten again. That breath is not trivial. It is the bridge between the tangible and the unseen, between the flesh you inhabit and the quantum field enfolding you. Yet most of modern life has drifted into automation. You breathe as though running on borrowed machinery, chest rising quickly, shallowly, focused in survival mode. It fuels your body but leaves your soul starving. The rhythms of anxiety, of deadlines and distractions, etch themselves into your breath until you forget that another way is possible. With each hurried inhale, you reinforce the sense that life is chasing you. With each shallow exhale, you confirm to the universe that your presence is fractured. Breath is not a mirror alone. It is also the architect. When fear courses through you, breath shapes the inner landscape into narrow tunnels. When peace inhabits you, breath opens vast horizons. Every emotional state you have ever known has been partnered by a distinct rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. It is not simply that your emotions shape your breathing. Your breathing, in turn, creates and sustains those emotions. This loop binds many lives into cycles of repetition. Turbulent breath patterns reinforcing turbulent experiences. Calm breath patterns inviting peace. But the shift begins with awareness. The first movement out of unconscious breathing is observation. Pause. Notice where your breath arises in your body. Is it caught in your upper chest, rapid and restrained? Or does it descend deeply, filling your belly with spaciousness? In this act of noticing, you awaken the observer within, the aspect of you that stands apart from the endless parade of thoughts. Most people spend their days fused to the voice in their heads, believing that commentary to be their essence. Yet when you observe your breath and simultaneously observe the stream of thought commenting on the exercise, something subtle reveals itself. If you can perceive a thought, you cannot be that thought. If you can notice the voice, you must be more than the voice. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise, persist, and dissolve. The river of mental chatter flows ceaselessly. Sometimes it drifts gently, Sometimes it rushes with rapids of worry or torrents of anger, but you are not that river. You are seated on its banks, watching water pass. Ancient teachers called this the witness, the Sakshi, the sky untouched by clouds. Clouds may gather heavy with storms or glide softly with sunlight, but the sky remains unaltered. Likewise, your awareness is constant, unbroken, pristine. The observer is not passive. It is a creative force hidden in stillness. The alchemist spoke of turning lead into gold, and while the world misunderstood this as manipulation of metals, the true laboratory was consciousness itself. The lead of unconscious reactivity becomes gold when observed, when transformed through awareness. Breath was their instrument, the furnace in which raw human experience was refined into luminous presence. Modern science now supports what these wisdom keepers intuited. Neurological studies reveal that the simple act of non-judgmental observation reshapes pathways in the brain. Dr. Joe Dispenza has shown that 7 minutes of conscious observation begins to rewire entrenched patterns, building circuits that support the observer rather than the reactor. With time, the very architecture of the mind changes, moving you from automatic loops toward liberative response. But there is a space deeper still, one most overlooked. Between each inhale and exhale lies a pause, so brief it often passes unnoticed. At the top of your breath, when lungs are full, there is an instant of suspension before release. At the bottom of your exhale, when lungs are empty, another instant of stillness awaits the next inhale. This is a quantum gap. In that fraction of a second, time seems to dissolve. The mind's commentary quiets. The incessant story halts. What remains is possibility. Pure, unformed, infinite. Egyptian initiates named it the silence of Ra, the moment when the sun paused between creation breaths. Mystics compared it to the silence between musical notes, the dark soil in which melodies take root. Without the gap, sound would be chaos. Without the pause, life would be noise. To rest in this space is to encounter the womb of creation itself. Here, intentions are not feeble wishes but crystalline instructions to the field. Here, the ego's desperate wants give way to the soul's quiet knowing. Each time you linger in this pause, you brush against the infinite. In doing so, you plant seeds of reality. This is not about force or attention. It is about presence. You are not holding breath hostage. You are simply aware, willing to rest in the silence between movements. In that rest, your awareness communes with the field, touching the place where everything is still possible. The body, too, is part of this mystery. For centuries, civilizations built temples of stone to honor the divine, pyramids aligned with stars, cathedrals rising like prayers into the sky. But your body is itself a temple, chambers of tissue and energy carrying the memory of your life. Every tension in your shoulders, every knot in your stomach, every weight in your chest tells a story. The breath is the key that unlocks these inner sanctuaries. As you breathe into a tight place, you discover that constriction is not only physical, it is biographical. That weight in your shoulders may carry burdens never originally yours. That armor across your chest may guard a heart once wounded. That knot in your belly may bind anxieties inherited from ancestors you never met. Trauma leaves its pattern not only in mind but in the cadence of breath, passed down like unspoken stories in the family line. Yet conscious breathing has the power to dissolve these imprints. Each intentional breath clears debris, reopens channels, restores flow. You are not merely releasing muscular tension. You are liberating memories, untangling generational cords, altering the very signals carried in your DNA. Scientists now recognize that trauma imprints itself epigenetically, shaping how genes express. The breathing patterns of ancestors echo in your body, but with awareness, you can rewrite the rhythm. Through breath, you become a bridge across time. Healing frequencies travel backward, soothing the unhealed wounds of your lineage. They travel forward, gifting future generations with coherence instead of chaos. Each inhalation is a descent through the temple floors of your body. Chest is a chamber of love, belly is a chamber of power and intuition. Each exhalation is a blessing, a purification, a reclaiming of your inner architecture. The more you inhabit this temple, the more your outer world reorganizes. HeartMath research demonstrates that your breath creates an electromagnetic field perceptible to those around you. Chaotic breathing radiates agitation. Coherent breathing radiates calm. Enter a room, and your field speaks before your mouth opens. Children respond instinctively, becoming restless under anxiety's breath, softening in the presence of peace. This field does not stop with people. It ripples into reality itself. The physicist Nassim Haramein's explorations suggest that consciousness and space-time interlace at the quantum level. Breath carried with coherence generates torsion fields, spiraling patterns that tilt probabilities, making harmony more likely, synchronicity more frequent. This is why meditators report uncanny coincidences, doors opening at just the right time, outcomes shifting in their favor. Each breath casts a vote in the ballot of reality. Unconscious breaths repeat old patterns. Conscious breaths summon new futures. The breath reveals its quiet authority not only in private reflection, but in the subtle influence it radiates outward. Imagine stepping into a crowded room. Conversations hum, movement ripples through the space, and without anyone speaking to you, you feel something. Sometimes it is unease, a vibration of restlessness beneath the surface. Other times it is calm, a gentle coherence that steadies your own body. What you are sensing in those moments is the breath field in action. Every individual broadcasts their internal state into the environment, and breath is the primary conductor of that broadcast. A parent who rushes through their day, lungs caught in shallow cycles, unknowingly transmits a frequency of stress to their child. The child, not yet trained to suppress intuition, absorbs it immediately, fidgeting, clinging, unable to rest. Yet when that same parent pauses, allows breath to lengthen, slows the rhythm into coherence, the child softens without a word being spoken. Peace is felt, not taught. Calm spreads like fragrance, unseen yet undeniable. In the workplace, the same law applies. An atmosphere of tension does not arise from deadlines alone. It arises from the collective field created by those present. One person breathing with clarity and coherence can stabilize the environment for many. Like the still mountain reflected perfectly in the calm lake, that presence becomes an anchor around which others unconsciously align. The influence is subtle, but its power exceeds any effort at persuasion or control. The ancient traditions recognize this field effect. Tibetan masters developed practices called lunga, wind horse, the art of riding the winds of breath to influence karma itself. They understood that what appeared to be fixed destiny could shift when coherent breath patterns altered the energy surrounding events. Breath was not limited to lungs and oxygen. It was a chariot upon which intention rode into manifestation. Modern science is beginning to validate what these practitioners intuited. Studies from the Global Consciousness Project reveal that during moments of collective meditation or prayer, even machines designed to produce random numbers begin falling into order. Chaos organizes itself in response to coherent fields generated by human consciousness. Breath, aligned and intentional, becomes a tuning fork for the fabric of reality itself. Every inhale and exhale, then, is more than private physiology. It is participation in the choreography of existence. Each unconscious breath reaffirms old loops, repeating inherited patterns, recycling familiar struggles. Each conscious breath inscribes something new, carving fresh pathways through probability, widening the horizon of possibility. Yet the breath's power does not stop at influence. Its greatest secret lies in stillness. For while effort dominates the culture, the message that more striving brings more results. The quantum field operates differently. The universe does not bend to force. It aligns to coherence. And coherence is found not in frantic activity, but in the depth of stillness. Picture a mountain. Storms pass across its slopes. Lightning strikes its peaks. Rivers carve valleys from its flanks. Yet the mountain itself does not struggle. It does not resist a storm or chase the sun. It simply abides, still yet immeasurably powerful. This is the stillness breath invites you into, not the stillness of collapse or surrender, but the stillness of presence, unwavering, magnetic. Consider the eye of a hurricane. Around it, winds rage at hundreds of miles per hour, tearing landscapes into chaos. But the very center is a circle of perfect calm, so quiet it can seem impossible in the midst of such fury. That calm is not weakness. It is the organizing principle of the entire storm. Likewise, when you breathe into stillness, You become the calm center around which your life reorganizes. In this stillness, reality ceases to resist you. Opportunities you once chased begin to appear without effort. Solutions to tangled problems reveal themselves with elegance. People who can assist you arrive at the precise moment of need. None of this is coincidence. When your field radiates coherence, the environment aligns to match. Struggle is replaced by flow, because the signals you broadcast no longer carry desperation or control. They carry trust, receptivity, and alignment. This stillness is not passive. It is dynamic, alive, attentive. It is the stillness of an archer poised before release, breath suspended in perfect presence, awareness sharpened into clarity. From this place, action becomes effortless and effective, arising not from anxiety, but from alignment. Each step flows naturally. Each choice lands precisely, because you are no longer swimming against the current of life. You are moving with it. This is where the zero-point field reveals itself. Scientists describe it as a foundational state of the universe, a sea of infinite potential where every possibility already exists. Ancient texts called it Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. In this state, you are not merely experiencing reality. You are participating in its creation. Time loosens its grip. Space becomes flexible, and what once appeared as rigid laws dissolve into malleable guidelines. The breath is the doorway into this field. Each time you breathe into stillness, you touch the ground state of being where limitations vanish. From here, manifestation shifts. The ego seeks to create from scarcity, trying to force life into shapes it believes necessary. The soul creates from abundance, allowing the highest possibility to emerge, even when it looks different from what you imagined. Breath reveals the difference between these two. You do not need to become something greater to access this state. You already are it. The practice of conscious breathing is not about acquiring power, but about remembering your essence. Every breath you have ever taken has been the universe breathing itself through you. Every thought you have ever had has been consciousness exploring itself in your form. Every emotion you have ever felt has been love expressing itself in countless variations. When this recognition lands, effort drops away. You cease trying to wrestle life into obedience and begin allowing life to express itself through you. You realize you are not a wave striving desperately to reach the ocean. You are the ocean revealing itself as a wave. Breath clarifies this truth until it becomes not an idea, but a lived reality. From here, even your presence becomes transformative. You no longer need to convince anyone of anything. Your coherent field becomes an invitation, reminding others of their own wholeness. Like a candle lighting other candles without diminishing its flame, your breathing presence ignites memory in those around you. This is how collective consciousness evolves. Not through force or argument, but through embodiment. Each time you choose coherence over chaos, each time you rest in stillness instead of reactivity, you are contributing to a larger shift. Indigenous prophecies have long spoken of this time. The Hopi described a great purification, a remembering of humanity's link to Earth. The Mayans pointed to the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. Hindu texts spoke of the transition from the age of darkness into the age of truth. None of these spoke of external cataclysm alone. They spoke of inner revolution, the awakening of consciousness through individuals who remember the power of breath. Every conscious breath you take becomes part of this collective movement. You become a node in the web of coherence spreading across the planet, a thread in the tapestry of awakening. The critical mass approaches, the phase transition when enough coherence tips the balance for all. You are not only healing your own nervous system, you are participating in the healing of human consciousness itself. And in this recognition lies service. Not service in the sense of constant doing, but service through being. The awakened individual contributes by embodying peace, by radiating coherence, by breathing consciously in the midst of unconsciousness. This is not performance, but authenticity. The field responds not to what you pretend, but to what you are, and what you are becomes clear when breath anchors you in awareness. So you return again to the rhythm. Inhale, exhale, the pauses between, the gentle expansion and release. Each cycle a doorway, each doorway a chance to remember. Life does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to return, again and again, to the truth hidden in the breath. Breath is not only the bridge to consciousness, but also the architect of the temple you inhabit. For centuries, humanity has built cathedrals, mosques, pyramids, and shrines, each stone placed with reverence, each chamber designed to amplify the sacred. Yet beneath these marvels lies a deeper truth. Your body is itself the temple. It houses chambers not of stone, but of living tissue. And just as ancient builders aligned their structures to cosmic patterns, your inner architecture is aligned with the rhythms of breath. Consider the body as a sacred sanctuary. The chest is a heart chamber where love and connection dwell, where grief may linger unprocessed, where joy rises when permitted. The belly is a chamber of intuition and power, holding both courage and fear. The throat is a chamber of expression, sometimes tight from words left unsaid, sometimes open and resonant with truth. Each space within you record the biography of your life, not on parchment or clay, but in tissue and muscle, in posture and breath. When you bring conscious breath into these chambers, you begin to restore the temple. Each inhale is a gentle visitation, each exhale a clearing. Tension loosens, but more than tension alone. The breath dissolves emotional residue. Memories long buried may surface, not a torment, but to release. In this way, breath becomes renovation, sweeping away the dust of years, so the inner sanctuary can shine again. But the stories stored in your temple are not all your own. Within your very DNA are echoes of ancestors, patterns etched by fear, grief, or survival. Epigenetics reveals that trauma can alter the way genes express themselves, shaping the physiology of descendants who never lived the original event. A grandmother's terror, a great-grandfather's silence, may linger in the nervous system of a child generations later, and these patterns are carried in breath. Rapid, shallow rhythms may mirror fear that never belonged to you, yet resides in your chest. Here lies a liberating truth. What is inherited can be transformed. Conscious breathing does more than calm the present moment. It can rewrite ancestral scripts, releasing echoes of pain carried through time. Each coherent inhale is a message sent backward and forward, soothing those who came before, gifting freedom to those who will come after. Through your breath, you become a bridge across centuries, healing wounds unseen, transmitting harmony into futures unborn. Imagine this descent as a journey through the temple floors. You breathe into your chest and feel the heart chamber open, revealing tenderness beneath its armor. You breathe into your belly and awaken the chamber of power, discovering strength beneath the knots of anxiety. You breathe into your throat and find expression loosening, truth rising like clear water. With each breath, you reclaim another chamber, not through force but through presence. You are not demanding healing. You are allowing it. The ancients mirrored this understanding in their architecture. The pyramids of Egypt were not random piles of stone. They were aligned to stars, constructed to channel cosmic energy into form. Likewise, your breath aligns your inner temple with the higher frequencies of love, peace, and creative power. Breath is a geometry that shapes the invisible into the visible, the symmetry by which your life becomes a vessel for coherence. And when coherence arises within, it radiates outward into collective. Science has shown that the electromagnetic field generated by the heart can be measured up to 8 feet from the body. But this field is not static. It changes with your breath. Shallow, erratic breathing generates a turbulent field. Deep, rhythmic breathing creates a harmonious one. You're always broadcasting, whether consciously or not. Think of your field as a lake. When you breathe in panic, it is as though you thrash the water, waves spreading in every direction. Others who come near feel the turbulence, even if they cannot name it. When you breathe from peace, the lake stills, reflecting the world around it with clarity. Those who enter that field feel calm not because of words, but because coherence is contagious. Children reveal this truth most clearly. A restless child often mirrors the breathing pattern of a stressed parent. Yet a few conscious breaths from the parent can settle the child as if by magic. The coherence field speaks directly to the nervous system, bypassing explanation or discipline. Peace transmitted through breath is received wordlessly instantly. Extend this principle outward and you glimpse its power. In a workplace, a single individual breathing with intention can alter the tone of the entire room. In communities, collective breathing practices create atmospheres of unity. Across the globe, synchronized meditation has been measured to influence systems once thought immune to human consciousness. Random number generators fall into pattern. Crime rates temporarily decrease, conflicts ease. Breath becomes not only personal healing, but environmental healing, an organizing force capable of shifting the probabilities of the world. At the foundation of this mystery lies physics itself. The work of thinkers like Nassim Haramein suggests that consciousness and space-time are interwoven at the quantum level. Breath, when coherent, generates torsion fields, spirals of energy capable of influencing probability distributions. This is not mysticism alone. It is science at the edge, pointing to what ancient traditions always knew. Breath can tilt the scales of reality. This explains why those who meditate regularly often encounter synchronicities, events too precise to dismiss as coincidence. The call arrives at the right moment. The door opens unexpectedly. The solution emerges as though waiting. Each coherent breath has cast a vote for harmony, and the field has responded accordingly. What once seemed miraculous becomes natural, the consequence of alignment rather than accident. Here, then, the choice is laid bare. Every unconscious breath is a vote for repetition, for old patterns replaying themselves. Every conscious breath is a vote for renewal, for reality shaped by awareness rather than habit. With 23,000 breaths offered each day, you are granted 23,000 chances to shape the field, 23,000 opportunities to choose coherence over chaos. And yet, the greatest power is not in the doing, but in the being. Our culture worships activity. Calendars full, tasks multiplying, effort equated with worth. But the field does not respond to effort's intensity. It responds to frequency's quality. It does not care how many tasks you complete or how vigorously you strive. It cares about the state you broadcast, the coherence you embody. Stillness is the most coherent state of all. Not stillness born of defeat, not collapse or apathy, but dynamic stillness, the stillness of the mountain, the calm of the hurricane's eye. In this stillness, breath anchors awareness so deeply that chaos cannot sway you. Circumstances may swirl, emotions may arise, thoughts may clamor, yet at the center remains presence. From this presence, reality organizes itself around you instead of against you. To live from this place is not to abandon action, but to let action arise naturally. It is the archer poised before release, the musician silent before the first note, the dancer waiting for the rhythm to carry the body. Every motion emerges from coherence, and so every motion is precise, efficient, powerful. No effort is wasted, for nothing is forced. From stillness, you step into the zero-point field, the fertile void where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Here, you're no longer attempting to manufacture outcomes. You are allowing the highest outcome to reveal itself through you. Sometimes it matches your desires. Sometimes it surpasses them in ways you could never predict. In this way, the ego surrenders its grasping, and the soul orchestrates creation from abundance. And all of it begins with something so simple, so easily overlooked, that most dismiss it entirely. It begins with breath, the rhythm that accompanied your first moment of life, the rhythm that has never ceased since. In its cycles of expansion and release lie the keys to your transformation, your healing, your participation in the unfolding of reality itself. The deeper you enter into breath, the more you discover its paradox. What seems like the simplest of acts, inhale, exhale, pause, is also the greatest of teachers. Breath does not lecture. It does not insist. It simply demonstrates endlessly the rhythm of stillness giving rise to movement and movement dissolving back into stillness. It shows you that life itself is a wave, cresting and falling, surging and receding, yet always anchored in an ocean that does not move. In moments of stillness, you begin to realize that breath is not merely yours. The inhale that enters your lungs was exhaled by the forest, by the ocean, by unseen strangers scattered across the planet. The air you release becomes the nourishment of plants, the gift to another's lungs. Each breath is a conversation, a communion between you and the living world. It dissolves the illusion of separation and reveals that individuality has always been porous. With time, this realization deepens. You see that every inhale is life giving itself to you, and every exhale is you giving yourself back to life. The boundaries blur until you can no longer say where you end and the universe begins. You are not a solitary being drawing oxygen. You are the universe breathing itself through you, remembering itself in you. This recognition shifts everything. Once, you may have believed your role was to control life, to manipulate events until they bent to your will. But in breath, you discover that control is an illusion. The true power lies in alignment. When your breathing is erratic, when your inner state is chaotic, you broadcast turbulence into the field and life reflects it back. When your breath is coherent, when you rest in stillness, you broadcast clarity and life responds with harmony. It is not control, but resonance. Think of a tuning fork struck into vibration. Another tuning fork nearby begins to hum with the same frequency, not by force, but by resonance. Your breath is the tuning fork of your being. Whatever frequency it carries, the world resonates with it. Anxiety calls forth chaos. Peace calls forth peace. It is not punishment or reward, but the physics of resonance. This is why stillness is power. In stillness, your breath vibrates with coherence so strong that the field aligns without effort. Opportunities, synchronicities, and solutions appear not because you chase them, but because you became the frequency in which they already existed. Breath revealed that the greatest action was often no action. The most profound influence, the quietest presence. From this place, what you once called miracles begin to occur. The call arrives at the precise moment you needed it. The obstacle dissolves unexpectedly. The person who can help steps into your path without planning. These are not accidents. They are the natural byproduct of coherence, the alignment between your inner temple and the field of infinite possibility. And as your coherence grows, something else emerges, service without striving. You no longer need to convince or persuade, no longer need to force change upon others. Your breath becomes your offering. By embodying stillness, you radiate an invitation to others, reminding them of their own inner stillness. Like one candle lighting another, your flame spreads without diminishing itself. Presence becomes a teaching. This is how consciousness evolves, not by argument, not by conquest, but by quiet contagion. Peace is magnetic. Awareness is viral. One person breathing with coherence influences a family. A family influences a community. A community influences a culture. The ripple widens until what once seemed an individual practice reveals itself as planetary transformation. The wisdom keepers of countless traditions foresaw this moment. The Hopi spoke of a great purification when humanity will remember its interconnection with Earth. The Mayan calendars pointed to an age of transition, the closing of one cycle and the dawn of another. The Hindu scriptures describe the passage from Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, into Satya Yuga, the age of truth. None of these prophecies relied upon external upheaval alone. They pointed to an inner awakening, to the quiet revolution of consciousness through practices as simple and profound as breath. And now, the signs of this awakening appear everywhere. Communities gathering to breathe together, movements spreading across cultures, science validating what mystics whispered for centuries. The Global Consciousness Project records patterns of coherence during moments of collective stillness. HeartMath reveals how breath shapes electromagnetic fields that extend far beyond the body. Physics uncovers torsion fields and zero-point potentials where intention crystallizes. The threads converge into one tapestry. Consciousness, breath, and reality are inseparable. Your part in this is both humble and immense. Each time you choose conscious breathing over unconscious reactivity, you are not only calming your mind, you are reshaping your reality. You are sending coherence into your lineage, soothing ancestors and blessing descendants. You are contributing to the planetary field, tipping humanity closer to the threshold of awakening. You are becoming what might be called a reality anchor, someone whose presence stabilizes the field for others, not through effort, but through embodiment. This is not an abstract vision. You can feel it now, in the simple act of noticing your breath. Inhale, aware of air filling your chest. Exhale, aware of release. In the pause between, aware of stillness. That stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness, the zero-point field where infinite potential waits. In that pause, intention is no longer wishful thought. It is instruction to the field, a seed falling into fertile soil. Most rush past these pauses, too eager to inhale again, too hurried to exhale fully. But when you rest in the gap, you discover its power. It is the silence between notes that makes music possible, the darkness of soil that allows a seed to grow, the stillness between breaths that allows creation to emerge. Here, your life ceases to be a struggle of control. It becomes a dance of alignment. You stop demanding that the river flow according to your timetable. You learn to float with its current, to trust its intelligence, to marvel at the landscapes it reveals. Breath carries you, and in carrying you, breath teaches you. You realize then that enlightenment is not about becoming something other than what you are. It is about removing the obstacles that have hidden what you already are. Breath dissolves those obstacles. The tension in your body, the chatter in your mind, the fear in your heart. What remains is the truth that has always been here. You are the awareness beyond thought, the stillness beyond movement, the universe remembering itself through the rhythm of breath. And in this remembering, you find freedom. Freedom not from life's challenges, but from the illusion that they define you. Freedom not from emotion, but from the belief that you are emotion. Freedom not from thought, but from identification with thought. You remain as the observer, steady as a mountain, calm as a hurricane's eye, infinite as the sky. As you live this truth, your actions naturally shift. They are no longer driven by scarcity or fear, but by abundance and love. You no longer ask, how can I control this? But rather, what wants to emerge here? You no longer strive to bend reality to your will. You allow reality to flow through you, trusting that the intelligence breathing galaxies into existence can also breathe harmony into your life. In this way, every breath becomes a prayer, every pause a portal, every exhale a blessing. You no longer breathe to survive. You breathe to remember. You breathe to align. You breathe to create. And through your breath, you awaken not only yourself, but the world. Each conscious breath you take does more than steady your heart or calm your mind. It contributes to a silent revolution unfolding across the planet. Humanity has spent centuries caught in loops of unconsciousness, repeating the same patterns of fear, conflict, and separation. Yet with every coherent inhale, every mindful pause, every intentional exhale, a different rhythm emerges, a rhythm of awakening, of remembering, of becoming aware that the breath we thought was personal has always been collective. You are not breathing alone. The same currents of air touch lungs in every corner of the earth. The same pauses exist in every chest. In this way, breath weaves us together into a single organism, a planetary body, learning once again to breathe with coherence. Each person who awakens to this truth strengthens the whole. Each parent who calms themselves before speaking to their child, each teacher who steadies their breath before addressing a room, each stranger who pauses to inhale deeply rather than react in anger, all of these become part of the great tipping point. Scientists call a phase transition the moment when a system shifts from one state into another. Water at 32 degrees is ice. At 33 it is liquid. Nothing gradual, everything sudden. Consciousness is approaching such a point. As more individuals step into observer awareness, breathe with intention, and embody stillness, the collective field leans toward coherence. And when enough breaths align, the entire fabric of reality reorganizes. This is the great work of our time, not the conquest of lands or the accumulation of wealth, but the transformation of consciousness itself. Ancient prophecies whisper to this era. The Mayans charting the end of one cycle and the dawn of another, the Hopis speaking of the great purification, the Hindus naming the passage into the age of truth. Their words converge here in this moment, in the recognition that the shift begins within. Your breath is not trivial in this process. It is the master key. 23,000 times each day, you are given the choice. Repeat the old or invite the new. Scatter light in chaos or radiate light in coherence. Tighten into control or expand into alignment. Every breath is a vote, not only for your personal experience, but for the collective trajectory of humanity. And here lies the beauty. The field does not respond to performance. It responds to authenticity. You do not need to pretend to be calm, to force peace upon yourself, to manufacture coherence. You need only return again and again to the simple presence of breathing. Inhale, exhale, pause. Awareness resting in rhythm. This is enough. The field organizes itself around genuine stillness far more powerfully than it responds to strained effort. Consider the sage described in Taoist texts. They do not strive to impress or impose. They walk quietly, breathe steadily, live simply. And yet, their very presence alters the energy of those around them. Why? Because consciousness is contagious. Peace is magnetic. Stillness radiates in ways no words can match. The sage serves not by doing more, but by being aligned. This is the invitation before you, to live not as a reactor, tossed by circumstance, but as an observer anchored in awareness, to breathe not as an automaton, but as a conscious architect, to rest not in the illusion of control, but in the truth of alignment. In this way, your life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a sanctuary. Challenges do not vanish, but your relationship to them transforms. Instead of obstacles, they become teachers. Instead of threats, they become invitations. And as you embody this truth, the boundaries between yourself and life soften. You notice that existence itself seems to respond differently. Synchronicities multiply. Opportunities arise effortlessly. Resources flow without struggle. What you once called luck reveals itself as alignment. What you once called miracles reveal themselves as a natural expression of coherence. This is a zero-point field in action. Here, time is fluid, space is malleable, reality is responsive. Here, your intentions are not fragile wishes, but instructions to the quantum fabric. Here, you are not a separate being begging the universe for scraps, but a universe remembering itself as you, and the breath is the doorway into this recognition. Stillness is not the absence of power. Stillness is power itself. It is the mountain unshaken by storm, the hurricane's eye around which all else revolves, the sky unmarked by clouds drifting across. It is the awareness that has observed you since your first breath and will remain until your last. It is your true nature, hidden beneath noise, revealed each time you return to breathing consciously. And so the path circles back to simplicity. Inhale, exhale, pause, not to survive, but to remember, not to control, but to align, not to escape, but to embody. Each time you return to this rhythm, you rebuild the temple within, radiate coherence without, and contribute to the awakening of the whole. There will be days when you forget, when the tide of thought sweeps you away, when emotions cloud the lens, but the breath waits patiently. 3 conscious inhales can return you to presence. 1 pause between breaths can reopen the quantum gap. A single exhale can release the illusion of control. It is not about perfection. It is about returning. Again and again, returning. As you live this practice, life itself begins to breathe you back. The boundaries dissolve until your inhale is the Earth's exhale, your exhale the Earth's inhale. You become part of the great respiration of existence, a pulse older than stars, wider than galaxies. In this communion, love flows without condition, abundance without effort, peace without fragility. You are no longer a seeker striving for enlightenment. You are the light remembering itself. You are no longer a wave straining toward the ocean. You are the ocean expressing itself as a wave. You are no longer a mind lost in chatter. You are the observer, the sky, the stillness, the breath. So let the rhythm carry you. Inhale with awareness. Exhale with presence. Rest in the pauses with reverence. Let stillness be your throne. Breath your compass. Awareness your constant companion. For the breath is the key, and you are the door. Step through